Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the RuneQuest rules by Chaosium Incorporated. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Strong language, mature scenes, and rune magics are on the way. As this is our Glorantha, we will remind listeners that it may vary from the one you already know and love. And now, on to the show. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I am your storyteller Mike. My pronouns are he, him, and we are back with RuneQuest, 6 seasons in Sartar, our inaugural RuneQuest campaign on the show. If you've not had a chance to check out what we offer on Patreon, you can at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. You can also jump over on YouTube and add to our next goal, whatever number that might be. And we look forward to seeing you soon over there. So we'll get to introductions. We'll begin to my right.
Hi, I'm Heather, pronouns she, her. I am playing Lysana of Cliffshield, a young apprentice healer of the Haraborn and initiate of Ernalda. I am the daughter of the healer Nyana Call and granddaughter Lysara, a chariot rider in the service of the Feathered Horse Queen. Hail and well met all.
Next to Heather.
This is Morgan, and I play Alara. She is daughter to Keldon and Ariana and best friend to Finn. And her pronouns are, well, she, her.
Very good. At the end of the table.
This is Jake. I'm playing Vargas, son of Gordanger, chief of the Twice Blessed Clan.
Hi, this is James. I'll be playing Garifin of the Kolamar tribe, son of Kolakar the Potter.
Indeed. So as you've all had a chance to catch up with the different rites of passage that have gone on, we're going to move on to the next portion of our story. But before we do, I want to give proper time to each one of our Haraborn here to understand the initiation process they went through, and then what cult they have decided to extend themselves into. So I'll go back to first chair, and I'll start with Heather, who plays Lysana. And so after your initiation, a very powerful rite of passage for you to become a woman, I think the natural bridge for you is to fully join the Ernalda cult. Is that a decision Lysana makes?
Yes.
Okay. So lay membership comes easy to you. That is not something that you even have to try. Given your mother's status within the cult, it comes naturally to you. You meet all of the prerequisites, and they accept you without any additional test of your worth. They know your worth already. What they do ask is that you continue to work within the cult to do the work of what the priesthood needs. And so you go from being a lay member to becoming an initiate, and the normal money, the 20L that you would normally spend to pay the fee, Morganath writes that into a book where you will work that off rather than having to come up with the money. Because quite frankly, most steads in the Vale, most families in the Vale are not very flush with money, given the fact that they're under lunar oppression. And so they offer you that as an option. Unless you have the 20L, you want to pay immediately to pay that.
Actually, I do. When my father passed because of in his service, and then my grandfather having been a part of saving members of the royal family from during the assassin attack earlier, they were both rewarded with Samel. So I will actually just go ahead and pay that. So that way, as a sign of good faith, and of course, with my roots pretty much within the cult already through my parentage.
Certainly. Morganath, of course, accepts the money. That's not a question. And at that point, you are taken to a special grove near the Riddle, where they work some new tattoos into your skin. Many women are there. They assist. It's not a feast per se, but it is a special a special time for you to commune with Ernalda and the, capital P priesthood that is there, Morganath and others, your mother, of course. And it does give you the opportunity then to speak with them about the lore of Ernalda and what is expected and when you meet. You already know most of the holy days. You know the high holy day, of course. All of that has been ingrained into you as a child, given your mother's position. But it is something extra. It is time that you spend at the end of sea season, and it gives you the opportunity to sort of bask in the knowledge of the cult. And you go from lay member to initiate with their blessing.
Take that very special time in as a matter, feeling it as a fellowship with the other priestesses, and as the tattoos are ingrained with the prayers and offerings, and probably some laughs and some,
certainly,
a joyous time and a kind of this new phase of life that I've reached.
It's special. The week or so that passes between you being in the cold outside the riddle and being in the warm embrace of the rest of the fellow initiates is wonderful. And there are so many. The cult of Ernalda here is made up of, in effect, 80 to 90% of the women of the Vale. And so there's a real camaraderie. There's a real feeling here, in between the two different mountain chains, that you are sort of always in that home inside the Earth Mother. And a few other things get revealed to you, one of which being that the riddle, when you're an initiate, is different. The riddle looks different. The riddle feels different. You have passed through that very traumatic fear, and you no longer see images or feelings on these walls that evoke terror. The riddle to you now is a place of holiness, a place of revelation. And also, it's a place inherently that you want to protect. And so that might mean you spend a few days outside the riddle making sure that young boys don't try to sneak in. It might mean that you tend to some of the spaces here. Not like a garden per se, but there might be things which need to be properly attended to, whether it be the gathering of herbs or whether it be the gathering of fungi, stuff like that. That stuff happens. But it's a peaceful time, and it's a time of growth for you, which is great. And you probably notice in the weeks afterwards that some of the young men of the stead look at you a little different. You might look at them a little different too. It's something to get used to. You're not used to that feeling constantly, but now it's churning in you. Those runes are active. That's a lot of the things that you hear the women, your fellow initiates, talk about. Oh, your runes are active now, and now you see the purpose that you have, and
yes.
that's part of it.
And having come through the phases and felt them intimately, I now have an idea of what I've been missing, as well as what is to come.
And moreover, you realize that Morganath was right at the marriage ceremony when she said not yet, that it wasn't time yet.
Oh, yes.
Her wisdom, and also that veil of, I guess, a little bit of trepidation you might have had when she was around, that has dimmed a little bit, because you realize she can be the comforting Earth Mother, that she is not this sort of blind, powerful priestess. Even though she is that, she's not a terror to you anymore. She's a font of wisdom and knowledge to be respected.
Yep.
But you know that she probably still scares the shit out of most of the men that are around, and with good reason. Okay.
because they would not understand.
No, it is not their mystery to understand. It's not for them. So I want to get to Morgan's character, Alara. Alara had a very different style of initiation. She walked a different path. And soon after that, you had your own time with Morganath after your initiation was over. And she revealed a few things to you that are important. And that is that between her and others within the Veil here, they will find a way to make sure you have access and wisdom from spaces that are important to you in the connection you've made with Marangor. You get shown to a very quiet place inside the riddle. You find something inside there that is meant, so Morgana says, for you and Ernalda's sister, Marangor. And that is, inside the riddle, there is a fissure in the wall, which she shows you how to get past. And there is a tiny space, a tiny altar set up inside the riddle that is dedicated to Marangor. And while the mystery of the riddle has always been is that flame does not light within the riddle, inside a very well-crafted stone bowl, there is a series of glowing rocks that warm the entire room. And they're bright. They're as bright as a torch. And you feel the power of the earth there, but you also feel that essence of fire. And there's a beautiful painting of Marangor into the wall here. It's a mosaic. Tiniest of stones after tiniest of stones have been placed. And you see a beautiful example of the goddess who you are calling to. In her hands, maces. And you see from in between her legs, there is the start of a mountain which ripples high into the wall. And as it does, it stops, and then there is this tiny break in the mountain. And you see a painted red swirl that runs down. And Morganath explains to you that there are mysteries here that, as the High Priestess of Ronalda, are going to be left to another member of the Veil, who you will meet with on a weekly basis, and they will help instruct you in the ways of the Earthshakers. She does ask, with reverence, that the secrets of the secrets of Marangor be carefully used in the Veil, as rock slides are a possibility here, especially during the snowy months.
I respond, of course, Mom.
It's here, really, in this space, when Morganath leaves you for it, that you have a chance to commune and make that much-needed sacrifice. What I'd like to know is, what would you bring Marangor to sacrifice? What would you give up?
I would give up a rabbit that I caught in the woods because it was something my family was going to feed on, but now they will have one less thing to eat because I'm sacrificing the rabbit to Marangor.
Okay. I have a question for you, Morgan. Does your character have the skill Peaceful Cut?
They do not.
Okay. So Peaceful Cut is...
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
You do?
I have a 15 in that.
Okay.
Do you want me to roll?
Not at this point.
Okay.
You have the skill. And so, provided you're willing to take the time and energy, you can slowly make that sacrifice to Marangor. You're not rushed. You're not trying to get anything back from it other than you're trying to show reverence to a very powerful earth goddess, one you have chosen, and one seemingly that has chosen you back.
But peaceful cut infers that it's less pain for the animal I'm sacrificing, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Well, it's a couple things. So peaceful cut it's a skill that is also technically butchering. What you do with it is that you know the rituals that will ensure that the soul of this being returns to its mother to be reborn properly, right? So you make that prayer. You are thankful, of course, to Marangor for protecting you and giving you a connection, but also acknowledging that you're giving up that beast. You're taking from what your family would feed on to gain that special acknowledgement. And so you're being efficient. You're not wasting any life. And the renewal and rebirth process is very important in Glorantha. And it's something that you need to adhere to. And you know that. And this is just sort of that part playing out. It's really, in a way, rewarding when you make that peaceful cut, when you take the time and you watch in this sacred space the rabbit jump out of its own skin as a being of pure energy. And it runs, not walks, but runs close to the bowl which carries those warm stones. And it jumps into them. And then there's a puff of smoke. And the body of the rabbit in your hands lays completely still.
Yeah, then I would take, I'm assuming there's a ritual knife on the altar to Marangor.
Yeah, there is.
Okay. I would pick that up and I would say a small prayer to Marangor for bringing me into her arms and showing me the true path that I'm supposed to be on. Then I would, slowly take the knife and run it across the rabbit's throat.
Yeah. You do so. You let the blood intermix with your fingers. And that is when another woman enters this space. And she waits patiently as you finish. She's rather striking. You've probably seen her in some of the steads during some of the higher festivals. You've never actually spoken to her. You're fairly certain that her name is Darasa, and she lives in the north, possibly in Tublest. She folds her hands in front of her. When she folds her hands in front of her, you realize how large this woman's forearms are. And when she walks just a little bit in towards you, you realize there's something that catches your eye about her legs, specifically like her calves. And that is that they are adorned with tons of tiny golden dots in intricate designs. And she kneels next to you and says, "You are Alara."
I am Alara. And you are?
"I am Darasa of Twice Blessed, priestess of Marangor."
I extend a hand.
She shakes it. She shakes your hand, but when she does, she grabs your wrist rather than actually taking your hand. It's a very male way of shaking hands at the wrist and at the forearm. And she's got a grip.
Yeah, I can feel that her strength in my arms, and maybe she was a farmer as well.
She smiles just slightly and then puts her arms down, clasps her hands together. Morganeth sent a message and said that another rarity had arrived in the Vale. I must admit I chuckled at this. Our sister cult are wonderful people. The Earth Mother will always be first to them. And this is right. This is true. but there is space for others. And Marangor is, unfortunately, not as prevalent as she once was. They forget our power.
I'm looking forward to learning her ways.
Tell me, are you prepared?
Furrow my brow. In what way?
For the first step. Give me your legs.
Is there any stone, like, seating?
Not really.
So-
You could probably sit back against the wall here and extend your legs out.
Yeah, I will do that. I, put my back up against the wall and hike my dress up to give her my legs.
She takes the left leg in her hand from your knee all the way to your ankle, and she inspects your leg like, frankly, a butcher might. She sort of turns the leg a little bit, not uncomfortably so, but she examines it, and then in her right hand she goes to a pouch and she brings out a very tiny pot of something, and she opens it up. And then she takes from the same pouch, she takes out a needle. And she says, "It is a auspicious day when a shaker first adorns her legs. I am thankful to our mother that she has allowed me to do this for you." And you can see this sort of wild, almost a fierceness in her eyes. And she plunges the tip of the needle into this pot and draws out just the tiniest rivulet of gold. And then she begins to go to work on your skin, making and etching, pressing that to give you your first of many tattoos.
Is it painful?
In a word, yes. Traditional tattoos generally are a little bit more painful. They're a little less accurate than modern tattoos. But the question is not whether you endure. There's no test, right? There's no die roll that is necessary. You'll have whatever reaction you'll have. I will say that your Morangor priestess will not be letting go of your ankle.
Yeah, and even though it's painful, I get this warm pool in the bottom of my belly that excites me that she's adding this to my body.
So the symbol that she makes at your ankle is the earth rune. Very prominent square. On top of that, she makes a symbol that leads, little dots that lead directly from earth. And then you see the fire rune above it. And she makes these little dots in a fan symbol from the earth symbol. All told, it takes a few hours. And the tattoo is no larger than, say, 4 inches long. Once she's done, she sets your left leg back and tells you to let the skin calm, but feel the fire within. That is our call. And next week, when you and I meet, we will do your right leg, and you will walk with fire for the rest of your life.
I nod and thank her.
And we'll leave you there. So let's talk to Varghast. Varghast, your father, Gordangar, chieftain of the village, wasted no time after you were done with your rite of passage. The day after is Movement Week, and it is Wednesday, which is an Orlanthe holy day. And so you get walked up to the hill where the standing stones are, where Savan, your uncle, awaits with many Orlanthe men, including Finn, who is there, just sort of in the background. You walk up and you get placed in the center of this circle as men around you begin to go through a process of raising energy. There is no question whether or not you would be a member, an initiate of the Orlanthe cult. There's no question in your father's mind. But your storyteller wants to hear from you that that's what you want.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And more importantly, you're going to be an Orlanthe Thunderous, which is the subcult of Orlanthe that's here in the Mountains of the Vale. So lots of weather, lots of thunder, and lots of power. And this sort of scroll up to initiation it's just absolutely blood pumping. There isn't some strange darkness that you're around, right? You are in the center of your father, your uncle, all of your extended male family is here. And it is a joyous occasion, including rain that goes on during the initiation, bolts of lightning that strike around you, and it feels like a party. Afterwards, after the main portion of it is over, your father and you and many of the elders go out with some of the younger men, and you hunt. And the extension of all of those feelings, the feeling like when you run through the Vale, the wind is not just behind you and around you, but you are the wind. You become the wind during the hunt. You feel Orlanthe, just a fraction of that king of the middle air energy. The men around you, the sparks that come off of them are undeniable. With a courageous amount of energy, you hunt until the boar have been killed. And then all of the steads that have representatives there are bringing them back to the main village, because you are a chieftain's son. And so you will not celebrate in just any stead. You will celebrate directly in the inner ring. And so many of the other higher position folks in the ring are there. It is a special occasion. And when they make this boar, they are going to have you spit and prepare it. And so I wonder how skilled is Vargast at cooking or making a household?
Okay, I have a whole 15 in that.
Nice. I would allow a customs roll for this specific thing.
Okay, local.
Yep, totally a local custom.
Okay, that's much better.
I'm happy to be very giving when it comes to this roll.
All right, 44 under 55.
So you are able to properly spit and prepare this boar. In doing so, the men around you are riled up into a dance. And that dance is very specific. And it's one you've seen perform before, but never performed yourself. For Vargast, you are going to get pulled into this dance because you're being initiated. And so I'm going to have Vargas make me a dance roll as part of his initiation.
You're killing me here.
It's kind of my job.
Oh, that's not good at all. That's a 99 over 30.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So during this initiation dance, because of the additional rain, because of course Sivan is continuing to urge Orlanthe to cover the ground to show how fertile the ground is, you slip and you fall face first into mud outside your father's longhouse. And the sound that comes out of the men here is not thunder, but laughter. And they pick you up collectively off the ground. And they dance and are able to get your enormous physical frame into the air. And they are now dancing with you as they're parading you around on their hands. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is where you land, which is in a very long trough made for horses to drink from. And it's at that point that they pull you back out and welcome you into the cult with a fair amount of ribbing from all sorts of people.
I'll take it. I'll take it all.
You have to be a good sport about it. You know, Finn, you get to watch this mostly just from the shadows because of some choices that you're making. But it does make for a good story.
Well, absolutely.
I mean, clearly Vargas is never going to live this down. The boar is cooked. It is passed out to many people. Portions are made to prepare and to go to nearby steads. A portion of it is given to you to take back to the hill to offer as a sacrifice for Orlanth.
Well, I gladly take it.
Yeah, your Uncle Savan walks with you as the head priest of the Orlanth cult. He's a font of information, but he's always been a little more reserved than your father. Always a little bit more careful. He's always had concern in his eyes for the future, especially with you growing up under lunar occupation. But those storm clouds have dimmed a little bit today. You reach Stag Hill. Savan says, "It is good to see you here. Your father has dreamed of this day when his son would follow him.
As have I.
This portion you lay for Orlanth is important. You must remember always to seek his face and guidance." He turns from the 7 standing stones that you're nearby and says, "When you are finished, come back to the hall and we will properly mark you as one of ours."
Of course, Uncle. I'll make my way to the sacrificial spot.
You do so. Place the portion on the slab, and you think there beyond the stones, you see something in the tree line. Large, dark.
After I do what I need to do, I'll see if I can get a little closer.
There's something there, maybe 40 or 50 feet. It's deep in the brush and trees, but there is an enormous deer. It must be 25 points. The hair on it is dark. It's brown, but it's darker in other spots. It's probably one of the largest you've ever seen.
I'll stretch my hand out in front of me and slowly approach.
It sees you coming far before it begins to move. It puts its head down just slightly, and you can see it try to lock eyes with you, and it bolts. And you feel the ground rumble as this thing gallops away.
Okay, I guess I'll make my way to my uncle.
Okay. You make your way back down the hill. It is a lonely journey, but a fruitful one, as many of the men are deep in cups by the time you get back to the hall. And all of them are, we'll just say, deep in discussion about where your mark should be. The mark of Orlanth, the wind, the air itself. Your father tempers some of their expectations. He says, you can hear his voice from outside. No. He is a man now. He makes his own decisions. Savan looks at you as you enter. He is a man. I agree. Come, Vargas. Tell us where to put the Lord's mark on you.
Put it right above my heart.
You get a lot of nods of approval. Your father says, sit here. Mead or wood?
Wood.
He reaches into a bundle of kindling and he takes out a piece of wood and he sets it on the table. And he looks you in the eye and says, "No man of this vale would ever put that between their teeth."
I'm not going to.
The tattoo process starts, and the outline alone is enough to stretch your pain sensations. Savan, who is your tattooer, is not at all easy with his hand, and you get a very distinctive mark above your heart, and many more flagons of mead and ale after you're done. But that is not where our initiations end by any means. For we have one more, and that's Finn. Finn, you pay proper service and appreciation to Orlanth. You acknowledge him as the king of the Middle Air. This is not debatable.
Never a doubt in my mind.
From your experiences, we are keenly aware that perhaps you see a different path for your life.
Finn has always seen things a little differently.
Indeed. And so you don't really make much of a decision at all. Not really. Not knowingly. The decision just sort of happens. I think that's the best way to put it. It's Illusion Week and Wild Day. One of your absolute favorite days, because all of the work for the week is done. It is not God Day. And that means Wild Day means anything can happen.
It's the most fun day of the week.
And it's that day when you're off to fish. You're looking for Alara, but for whatever reason, she must be busy. You are headed down to the stream to fish, to count the days and the hours and just relax. And you get close to your fishing spot, and there's someone in it.
Oh. It's a big river, even though they have the best spot to catch the blue scale.
See a man with a straw hat stand up. You know this man. It's Celadon Blue Eye. Morning. He tips the hat.
Morning, friend. Finn tips his own floppy hat.
You like this place, huh?
Oh, I do. It's one of my favorites, actually. The view, plus there's always good blue scale here.
Yep. Of course, the fish up at Glass Cave are twice as big.
You're telling tales.
Always. That's part of the gig. Of course, you knew that, though.
I do.
Let's take a walk.
But, okay. I'm always ready to catch something larger, even if it's just a good story. He shoulders the fishing pole and readjusts Dad's old battered hat and follows. What was his name?
His name is Celadon Blue Eye.
Celadon, right. I follow Celadon.
Now, you know that Celadon is also the skald of the local chieftain, Vargas' father, Gordengar.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, some way, he has spent the better part of a few decades getting away with literally everything. There isn't a single problem that he's created that he's ever held accountable for. He always seems to be at least a little half intoxicated, whether it be by local mushrooms or whether it be by some mead that someone poured. He's known to have explosive, and I mean that literally, explosive flatulence.
Wonderful.
He's the person that most party planners hope doesn't show up.
And the more they hope he doesn't show up, the more likely he is to show up.
That's the rumor.
Oh, wonderful. I pass him a wine skin. I'm an adult now, so I can drink without frowns in the village. A bit of something to wash a bit of the trail dust off.
Oh, sure. I mean, if If that's your speed. He reaches into a bag and you see him pull out a piece of like pink fungus. And he stuffs it in his mouth and sort of rolls it around the inside of his mouth as he eats it. A lot of his teeth are jagged and his tongue is two-toned.
Finn looks a little expectant and a little hurt. Just standing there with an empty hand out and a wineskin in the other hand.
Oh, yeah. I would say sorry or apologize. It's just not in my vocabulary. He grabs the skin.
Well, I don't expect you to apologize. I expect you to share.
Well, you got to earn your place here first. He pokes you in the eye. And the jab is swift and hard.
Oh, the name of... Oh, that's going to leave a mark.
See, look, I fixed it. I knew it. He tucks into his pocket and pulls out a shiny sort of piece of stone, and you can see that it's slightly reflective. Look, see? It's the wrong color all along, friend.
Finn gets closer to the reflective piece.
Look at it. Look at yourself.
Is his face different, or
your face is totally different? You've grown horns.
Oh,
your eye is a different color. Your nose has sharpened. Your ears have become pointed. You see, everything is an illusion. Everything. Once you get on that train of thinking, you will be a much better person.
Well, I wouldn't want to be a bad person. Finn giggles a little, kind of pokes at one of the horns.
You poke at one of the horns. Oh, wow, those are real and they hurt.
Sensitive. Oh.
Every time somebody's new horn comes in, it's a little sensitive, you know what I mean?
Finn stops and leans against a boulder, chuckles to himself, continues walking. My mother is going to literally have 2 goats and a baby cow when she sees that I have antlers now. You realize that, right? And this is your fault.
You're not expecting me to care. Your mother, by the way, wonderful person.
Yes, but unfortunately, she's about as much fun as 2 stones stacked on top of one another.
It's like I tell Gordangar all the time, but about my role, of course. Everybody has a part to play.
Oh, I don't deny that. She's very important in the village. I mean, it's very important in the cult and everything. And, you know, if that's how you want to live.
Well, I mean, I don't. I do what I have to do, right? I stand up. I turn around in a circle. I shake my hands when necessary. And then I find a way to get the hell out of there.
As we're, you know, I've got to say, I have always deeply admired your ability to say apparently anything that comes across your mind and then walk out of a room. It's like leaving flatulence in a hut and then walking out.
Oh, that's like half the fun.
And I appreciate that.
The problem is that people live these lives so rigidly that they don't remember what it is. And it's not that we've given ourselves over to some kind of crazed chaos, but these people got to lighten up. I mean,
everyone takes themselves so oh my God, Varghast. There's a part of me that definitely wants to devote the rest of my life to making him not take things so darn seriously. And I think it would take that long.
It might.
God's willing.
I'm still working on Gordangar. I did get him to fall for the big trap, though.
Yeah. Oh, what, marriage?
No. No, his wife is a wonderful woman who I would not get anywhere near because I know better.
Yes. I value all of my various limbs where they are, and there they shall remain.
Indeed. No, the big lie. The big lie.
Yeah?
Yeah. So, the way you get to create more fun is by convincing your local upstart Orlanthe brothers to accept you as part of the plan. And this ties back into the whole Lightbringer myth. So there are 7 Lightbringers, right? And we could go on and on and on about who they are and what they did and yada, yada, yada. But nothing happens without us. You know the old story? When Orlanthe slayed Yelm and Yelm went to hell, and then Orlanthe had to say, oh crap, I totally ruined the entire existence. Now I got to go save Yelm.
Oh yeah, he absolutely fucked the dog on that one, yes.
None of that happens without a little bit of planning. And that planning happens from inside a brain that can see different outcomes all the time. You see, he points to his own different colored eyes. We need to be able to see in different places, in different times, in different spaces. And that's what we do. We help propagate the lie that Orlanthe is the most powerful being in this space. He's just one.
My mother, my birth mother, you understand. Haressa, she is fond of telling the stories, of course, of the 7. But she always downplays a lot of the contributions I've noticed of some of the other deities. And I mean, not to say that she doesn't give proper homage. But for example, I know very little about almost any of the rest of them. Ermal, for example, he grins slyly.
Yes, you see him grin back at you with, sharp, pointy teeth. Yes, we're getting to that. Try not to be too direct, though. It'll ruin the magic of the moment. What you need to do, if you want in on the whole thing, is you have to start working on Varghast and getting him to agree that Ermal has a place. You can use his father as a perfect excuse. See, your father keeps a trickster around to lighten the mood and keep things interesting. He had better do that too. Or how can he actually become chieftain? Because that's the way of things.
A chieftain with no foil becomes dangerous, I think.
Well, you can only be morose in the mountains for so goddamn long, right?
The sun should shine on every cliff face. Not to say that he's stoic, but the day that he cracks a full-fledged smile and, belly laughs, I'm going to be picking up pieces of the sky and gluing them back together.
Okay. So, I like you. I think you're in, but I need you to do something for me.
Name it.
He extends the bag that he had to you. I need you to finish these.
No, yeah.
And then go fishing.
Up in a glass canyon?
Yeah, right there. It's not too far from here. I have a meeting, a very important one, down in Bear Fallen.
Excellent.
There's a young lady who enjoys limericks. And I'm going to go talk to her.
I think you should. I think that being a cunning linguist as you are, you should instruct her in eloquence. I am going to finish these. He shakes the pouch a little bit. And if I'm not back by nightfall, kind of pokes him in the chest, wait longer. Then he turns around and walks off up the path.
You don't see it, but you get saluted in sort of this strange way. At least you don't think you see it. Maybe you see it. It's hard to tell.
Hard to tell what I can and cannot see at the moment.
Over the next few hours, you consume many mushrooms. This bag is way heavier than you thought it was.
Well, there's a lot more here than I anticipated.
You have what could easily be called an out-of-body experience. For you, though, it's just Saturday.
Laughing and vomiting into the river.
Acceptance is a very strange thing when it comes to an Ermali cult. And that's because there doesn't seem to be any organization to it at all. There's no specific big shrine that you go to, at least that you've heard of. You get picked up by multiple spirits while you're laying in the water at some point. And you have this amazing soaring flight over many of the mountains and the trees. Dropped a few times. It doesn't hurt.
I'd drop me too.
There are certainly trickster spirits here who introduce themselves in names you can't pronounce. But you commit to the whole bag. And the nice part about it is, for you, Finn, the bag commits to you as well.
Me and the bag are friends now.
Oh, without question. So you come back from this experience sometime later. You carry 3 dots now on the backside of your left hand. You would know them very simply as the illusion rune. You carry them. You don't think anyone else can see them. They change color and size while you stare at them. They sort of oscillate and dilate. It's fantastic. You smell something that might be you, but it can't be all bad. You'll get used to it, I'm sure. So I'm going to wrap our session there for tonight. You've all gone through these tiny little vignettes and are now all initiates into your cults. And next session, something surprising will happen. I guarantee it. Thank you, and good night.